All right, welcome back to the channel. Here we are again, working on the LS powered Bronco 2. Belongs to my friend Jeff. We're in the home stretch here of getting it wired. We've got the Holley install. I got a few other small little details I've been working on, and right now don't pay attention to this. This is tore apart for another reason, but anyway, let's get into it. Show you what's been going on. We've already got some work done on this, and let's get it done. Let's get it fired up. Okay, so under the hood, it's starting to look a lot better. The engine harness is already all pretty much wired. Everything's on. It's got a few more connections to make. Had to modify the battery connection terminals, so I had direct connections from the Holley right to the battery. But all that's done. Just waiting on a few other little pieces here and there. But over here on the driver's side, the chassis harness wiring that's left, I got to go through that, find the wiring for like the fuel pump and the ignition sources. So I'm going to be tapping into those. I also I built some little nice aluminum splash guards, since the original plastic ones won't fit on this anymore. So I just kind of whipped up a set of my own, some aluminum guards there, keep a little bit of crap out of the engine compartment. So on the inside, we have the Holley mounted. Shows the kick panel location right there. And we have trans harness in here. I just have to poke that through the floor pan, get that routed down, plugged into the trans. Got a new blower motor. I got to get that in. So yeah, I think next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that dash bezel out and going to work some magic on that and get it set up for the new Holley dash. So I think that's what I'm going to work on first. So the original wood grain dash bezel has been removed. I take that over to the bench and I'm going to start coming up with an idea to fit the Holley to that. So all of this stock cluster is going to get removed. Not going to be using none of it. The stereo, I guess I'm going to have to talk to Jeff to see what he wants to do about that. I turned it on. This one does actually, at least the radio works. Sounds like total shit, but it does work. But I guess if that's any plans to modify that, now's the time to do it before I make this dash bezel. So I'm going to have to talk to him about which way he wants to go with that. So the dash bezel is here. So basically what I'm going to be doing is the Holley display. It's going to fit on there something like that. So what I'm thinking is I'll use some of my textured ABS plastic, and I'm basically going to overlay it right over top of all the wood grain. Probably leave the chrome exposed, and it looks kind of cool. So it'll just be a flat piece of textured plastic. I'll try to make a cutout for this and then cutouts for these, but it's just this weird radio opening. Just need to find out which way he wants to go. There's a lot of cool options out there now for different styles of radios and stuff. You really don't even need a head unit anymore, honestly. They're kind of useless. So anyway, I'm going to get some plastic and we're going to see what I can come up with here. Okay, so working on the bezel here. Took the original one here, wood grain. Cut out a little notch here for the wiring for the Holley dash. Cut out the opening where the factory radio is. I'm going to leave that blank, so it'll give Jeff some options on putting some switch panels there. Jeff's not going to have a traditional radio in this, we decided. My new favorite thing I found, chrome paint markers. These things are the bomb. I went around, touched up all this chrome around the bezel, the vents and everything. I mean, it looks as good as the original Ford stuff that was there. So I think it's gonna be a really nice touch. So I got this. I got my sheet of ABS plastic. I made a little paper template, cut it all out. So this is gonna go over top, like so. I'll mount the Holley to this. I already got all my mounting holes drilled and everything. Picked up some little machined cap screws that'll go through. It'll kind of look like the 85, 86 Mustang GT dash bezels. I had them fake Allen bolts around the dash bezel. So it'll kind of have that same look to it. I think it's pretty cool. And then this half here, this will be its own separate panel. I'll just have the cutout for the Havoc controls. And this will be blank. So like I said, Jeff can do whatever he wants there. So, but he'll be able to pull this panel off without messing with this one. I'll take all the original factory radio wiring. I'll mark it so it'll have power, ground, illumination wiring, anything that I think he might need that would come inconvenient for putting a switch panel here. So try to make that as convenient as possible. So anyway, I'll get the Holley dash mounted to this, get it mounted to that, and we'll see how it looks. All right. Partially done. Just got to do that side. Vent in. Holley's mounted nice and center. Everything's straight and square. Like it. I just got to do that piece. All right. There it is. I just got to go over to the truck and remove the radio and pop it in. We'll see how it looks. All right. Just kind of threw it loosely together. I still have to wire in stuff like the turn signals and some other things. But anyway, just kind of threw it together just real quick. Man, if that doesn't look 100% better than that stupid wood grain, I don't know what does. So nice couple spots here. Got some empty real estate for switches or, you know, whatever you want to mount there. Maybe switches for the lockers or lights, onboard air. Who knows, man? You got options. Let's see from the other side. We got a little spot over on this side. You could mount something from the driver's perspective. Actually, I love that steering wheel. It's one of the nicer factory Ford steering wheels, I think. But man, perfect shot right at the cluster. I like it. Just got to plug it into the Holley over there. And I sure hope the wiring on that dash reaches. I feel like it's not going to reach, but we'll find out here shortly. Anyway, there we go. Holley dash installed. All right. Okay, so far today, I got the trans harness routed through the floor. There's an oval grommet underneath the seat. I got the harness plugged in there. Had a little complication with that. The VSS sensor on the back of the transfer case is not the same plug as what comes on the Holley, and the Holley harness wouldn't be long enough to reach it anyway. So just got creative with some butt connectors. I kind of made my own connection, potted it, made a weather pack connector, extended it like a foot. It plugs in. I guess I should have read the directions better. There was the other plug for the turbine speed sensor that, for the life of me, I couldn't find the sensor on the side of the trans. Well, if my dumb ass would have read the instructions better, it clearly states that that's a plug for a 4L80 only. 4L60s don't have them, so I was just chasing nothing. So got that figured out. So trans is all hooked up. Everything's powered. Starter is now wired to the chassis harness on the truck. So what we finally have is a vehicle that now cranks on its own. So that's one more milestone checked off. So next I just have to hook up stuff for the fuel pump figure that out. There's some auxiliary inputs that got to go into the dash for the turn signals, fuel gauge. You got to figure that stuff out. That's all in the interior. But I think shortly this thing should come to life once I get the fuel pump wired. The main computer power is not hooked up. Save that to last. So we got to put the program in it. So I got a feeling here before the end of this video, this thing's gonna fire up. So yay! All right, Jeff. One step closer, man. I'm literally probably 2 or 3 wires away from this thing firing up. So, yeah. So all the wiring under the hood is now done. The harness, there were just 2 wires of battery power for the fuel pump, and then the wire coming out of the computer that powers the fuel pump. I got those in a little harness. They come down here to the factory wiring. Got them all tapped into the factory fuel pump wire. Pump works. This, I had to get a factory air temp sensor. Obviously there's no inlet tube on this yet. I'm not really sure what Jeff wants to do about that. So I just kind of zip tied that up out of the way. Whatever kind of intake tube Jeff comes up with, he'll just have to pop that inside there. But we had to have it hooked up. CAN bus wire for the dash. There's a plug right there. They give you a 4-foot extension. I got that all routed. Goes through the firewall, grommet right there where the old cruise control vacuum hose went through. So that's inside. Yeah, so pretty much the only thing left out here is I got to find the wire for the fuel level sender, and I got to run that into the truck to hook that to the dash. So let me show you what's going on with the dash now. But this, we are so close. Okay, hopefully all this, you can see it well. So what I did was pull the dash cluster back out. And for this setup, for this 7-inch dash, got the additional, they call it the I/O module. And I have that mounted right there. Just got it screwed into one of the heater ducts. What that does is that gives you, I don't know, 10, 12 different input outputs that you can choose. So we chose to use that. And I took the factory wiring from the cluster. And I found a 12-volt switched wire, which that goes to the Terminator. That works off the ignition. I have the wire for the bright lights. And I have the wires for the turn signals. All right here. I cut them off of this factory plug that went into the stock cluster. These will get wired to some pre-pinned wires that Holley sends with it. I'm basically going to make a little extension harness that'll tap into these wires, that'll go into that I/O module, and then that is already plugged into. I had to pull the display back off. You pull these screws out, pull this plate off, and then it's a 12-pin plug that plugs inside here. I've been pulling my hair out for a day trying to figure out where the hell, because it's a CAN bus connector, and all the CAN bus connectors on this harness are 4-pin. This one was a 12. Nowhere in the instructions does it tell you that plug goes in here. I had to call Holley, talk to them, and right away he knew exactly what I was talking about, and he was like, yeah, that's not in the instructions. Yeah, now that I know, pulled this off, plugged in the CAN bus connector for all the programmable input and outputs, and we're good to go here. So at this point, the Terminator is all wired, powered. It's good to go. We have fuel. I just need to get all the kind of the auxiliary things done, like the turn signals, bright lights, and the fuel level. And that's it. That's the only thing left, and that's all just right here. So next after that, I got to plug in the handheld, and I'm waiting for buddy Eric to get over here, and I guess do the initial setup and get the program all set, and then we'll try to fire this thing off. All right. Dash. Whoops, hold on. There we go. Dash is together. It's all done. I have the IO module. Whoops. Sorry about that. Got it all together. The IO module is hooked up. We have it wired to the turn signals left and right, the high beams, and I just got a wire hanging down here for the fuel level sender. I got to run that through the firewall. And when I get extra hand here, I got to use ohm some wires underneath the hood here, make sure I get the right ones for the sending unit. So next step in the process, as far as I understand it, is I have to hook up the handheld programmer. I guess all the initial setup has got to be done by this first. So it was just a matter of unplugging that connection here. Here is the connection for the 7-inch touchscreen. So unhook that, hook up the handheld. We'll do all the initial programming. Probably even try to fire it and get it started, because then there's a few other steps you have to do as far as setting the TPS, setting the idle, things like that. And then once we know it's good, it runs, it starts, it idles, then I can go ahead and disconnect the handheld and then hook up the 7-inch screen again. And then there's a whole setup process for that, programming the fuel gauge, the turn signals, all the other things. So went pretty well. So yeah, excited to hear this thing run. So hopefully we'll get to this programming here shortly and get her fired up. All right, Eric's over. He did all the setup in the computer for the Terminator. We've done all the calibration for everything, so I guess the next step is crank it. So this is first time. See what happens. And we are in park. Okay, here we go. Cranking. Should I hear a fuel pump though? I already did it the first time. Oh, here we go. I don't hear no fuel pump. Okay, well, we're into our first problem here, so let's get this diagnosed, see what the heck's going on, because I know the fuel pump works, because I jumped it, I hot wired it, and it came on, so let's dig into it. We're back. Found the problem. My dumbass. I had a wire which I thought was a solid red wire, which is supposed to get battery power. I had it hooked directly to the battery. Well, if you look closer, it does have a white stripe on it. I missed it. So computer was getting constant 12 volts when it shouldn't have. I just made a jumper wire over to a ignition switched wire. And let's see what happens now. Yeah, Percy. Okay. Okay, key on. Oop. There's fuel pump. He's primed. And cranking. Get out of here. Wow. Get a little pedal. Okay. It's on its own. Yeah, it runs. Really lean. That's lean. Well, runs. Oh, maybe. Well, it did say you had to, well, it'll self-learn after it gets to 160 degrees, but. Okay. Man. This is ridiculously quiet. Like, give it a little throttle up there. Then I'll crack the door so we don't die. Wow. Very mild. Yeah, I'm clear. Go ahead. Nice. All right, well, there it is. It runs. Definitely got a lot of tuning to do. We still have to do a whole setup on the 7-inch dash. We're still running it on the handheld, but we can unplug that, hook the 7-inch dash up, and then do all the setup for that. Won't bore you with all of that, but there it is. LS powered Bronco 2. Obviously, we can't drive it yet. Still waiting on some parts from RCV, so there'll probably be a third video on this once it's driving and on the road. We'll do some testing with it. But for now, that's it. It runs. Our job is complete as far as that goes. Hope Jeff's happy. And that's it. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.